Hello and welcome to another episode of the SBK Betting Podcast. This is another one of our golf specials. Now, if you've been following these specials throughout the season, you'll know that we've already put up multiple major winners across the season, including Bryan Harmon, Sepp Straka, the forecast at the British Open. I'm not sure there'll be many other podcasts that have done that. And we're back this time round for a Ryder Cup special. And we've got the band back together, minus TC. Marios, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Looking forward to this week.
Yeah, and Bryan, the man who's hypnotised by numbers. We're hypnotised by him.
All good for a Sunday or for a Monday morning, anyway.
Fantastic. Good to have you back together. So, we're talking about the Ryder Cup this time round. I'll break down the current odds and then we'll get into it. So, as it currently stands on a Monday morning, the USA, insert the booze here, are even money. Europe at 5-4 and the draw at 11-1. So we're going to kick off by just looking at the team selections a bit, and I'll go to you, Bryan. Were there any sort of surprises for you when Luke Donald and Zach Johnson announced their teams?
Yeah, I thought when Zach announced the teams, there was a few kind of dubious picks. Obviously, Keegan Bradley and Lucas Luber probably should have been in there on form. Sam Burns is a great player. He won the match play, obviously, so can't really argue there. But yeah, I don't know. They were talking more about a fraternity type thing when he's picking his friends and all that kind of. Even Justin Thomas had a question mark over him. But then, if you look back at some of the records, like Justin Thomas playing with Jordan Spieth in the Ryder Cups and whatever, they form a great team. So I don't know. It just depends what way you look at it, really. And I think for the European side, I did think Ludwig Aberg was. He could prove me wrong easily, you know what I mean? But he's only been a pro a few months. Eduardo Molinari, he's in there and he's doing the data analytics side of the things. So I think that's where that he kind of stemmed from in the first place. And then when he got on the radar, fair play to him, he won in Cron when he was playing with all the captains and whatever. So can't really argue that he did well to get in there that way. But I don't know, the Ryder Cup is a big mental kind of sport, and he's never part of the game. He's never really experienced that kind of thing before, so it'd be interesting to see how he goes anyway. But if he stuck to 4 balls and then the singles, he could actually turn out to be a good bet for top rookie for the European side or whatever, So yeah, it's intriguing to see anyway. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And Marios, any surprises on your side?
I think the only surprise was probably perhaps Bradley missing out to Burns, but maybe Bradley wasn't the right fit for the team. Whereas Burns, I think, has got ties to Scheffler, and I think they're slated to play together. On the European side, I think it was very tight between Nicolai and Meronk, and I think Meronk's really unlucky not to. Previous winner, I think he's come first and third on the track. So I think Meronk was very unlucky. I think it was a coin flip. I think the fact that Aberg came with a run, like Bryan said at the end there, I think kind of reduced the available spots to the captain Donald, and he went with Nicolai. So I can't really argue with that.
I couldn't agree more. Meronk was the one for me. He looked absolutely devastated in that interview after the announcements went round, and he's played pretty decent stuff since.
Especially being on the course, as Mario said, there win and a second or third as well, and that's a big thing. Like course fit, he's shown he has it, and he can play the course. And I kind of know that Rasmus Hart, I think he's 3 wins on the European Tour, I'm wrong now, big wins, big events like Rolex events and stuff, and then Rasmus Højgaard has 4 as well. I kind of thought it would be, especially with Bjorn being in one of the vice captains, and he knows them from a very young age and whatever. I actually thought the 2 of them might be in there, and I was saying there last week I had a few like anti-post bets from 18 months ago, and Rasmus to make the team at big prices, so maybe I'm thinking a little bit with my heart and my own personal my wallet.
Talking through the pocket, we love it. So in terms of the team selection, guys, who do you think, are there any names there that you're particularly worried about? You think they might let the team down. These are the people that to try and get after.
I think maybe the kind of weakest link maybe for Europe might be actually Nicolai Højgaard. I think, like I said, if Rasmus was there with him and they could team up in that, they could have made a great team. But just on his own, I don't think he played that many matches, to be honest. Even though, again, he's another course winner at Marco Simone, and then there's McIntyre. He's not playing great at the minute, but again, he won. He was the other of the three winners, I think, at Marco Simone. So
yeah, he's got good course form.
Yeah, I don't know. None of them really look too. I think both teams are actually really good, a nice mix, and I think the market has it right. I really think it's very, very close. Now there was a big kind of discrepancy in the prices even a month ago, just before the picks were made. But since then, Europe have drifted quite. USA have drifted quite a bit, and Europe have come in. And
yeah.
I think it's quite fair now the market. Yeah, to be honest.
Give us a line on JT then, Marios. Should he be there, or like you say, you're going back and you're saying you would have taken Bradley instead of JT?
No, I never said that. I think JT was always on the list. But just going back to your point, Adam, if you're looking at the guys that may suffer a little bit and may let the team down, as it were, I'd look at the bigger names. I'd look at Scheffler, Rahm, Rory. The pressure's on them that they're expected to play 4 or 5 games at least and carry the team. And I think with the rookies, the likes of Aberg, Straka, the Højgaards, who's been there before, there's probably less pressure on those, and they may fare better. I know it's a different type of pressure, but Scheffler's not been playing great. Rahm's been pretty average, and Rory's been pretty average in the last month. So I think the pressure and the onus is on those guys to kind of carry the team or carry the respective teams through. So I think JT will come on to him later. I think he'll go well. I actually think he'll go well. He'll get a lot of games with Spieth. I think he's shown some signs over the last couple of weeks. I think he had a run out 2-3 weeks ago and he did okay. So no real worries about JT.
No, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, you mentioned sort of some of the bigger names there, and I think we're going to talk about course setup in a second. I think this is probably a decent lead into it. I do worry about Rory and Rahm and some of the big hitters here, because it just doesn't strike me as a course for that. I mean, there's a lot of thick rough, and if you've got Rory sticking it everywhere off the tee, and Rahm's got that in his locker as well, I mean, he could get in some trouble. And you mentioned Scheffler there as well, Marius. I mean, like, his putting woes are. We're not even going to go there again. We've discussed it on this podcast previously, but these greens are severely undulating, and I do worry for Scheffler on them. I mean, he could find a lot of trouble. Bryan, you're our man with all the course info. Give us a rundown of what we need to expect this week.
Yeah, so it's going to be kind of similar to the Golf National back in 2018. I think they pinched the rough really in deep down, and it was like real thick kind of rough. We won't be able to do that much this year, so the fairways will still be wide enough. But it's a similar kind of setup to the Golf National, with risk reward play, a lot of lakes around the courses, and the real premium is going to be on the approach shots. So as you say, there's not. The Bombers don't have much of an advantage here. I don't think either course has kind of much of an advantage in terms of course fit, but there are some fairway bunkers and some corners on dogleg holes that you can cut. The bigger guys can cut for easier shots in. But again, you're going to have to really have strong total driving skills, which is an amalgamation of straight and long, basically. Other than that, it's more of a strategic course, yes. So and there's going to be a lot of drama with the lakes around the holes, and the bunkering is probably the main kind of defence of the course, or if you get a windy day with the lakes around, like I said, the water and whatever. But yeah, they've actually set it up, or they've been doing renovations over the last few years to make it a really dramatic kind of style risk reward course. And yeah, I just have some of the premiums down here. The irons and approach is number 3 out of 3 basic and strength on my model there for the premiums anyway, and then total driving is 2, and of course throw in mentality. You're going to have to be very mentally strong to play in the Ryder Cup. So yeah, just in terms of course fit, I just don't see any real advantage to either side. I think maybe in the foursomes it'll suit Europe, and the 4 balls maybe even the US will have the edge. So
yeah, I mean in terms of course comps, you can shoot me down here. I've got down Kapalua Century Tournament of Champions host again. It's probably the most undulating course that
big wide course
on the PGA Tour. Yeah, so you want to look at. I mean, Rahm's obviously gone very well there in the past. Colin Morikawa, JT, Spieth, and then over in Europe, I always quite like Kranz as a comparison here. With Nikolai's played well there, Bob, Ludwig obviously, and Matt Fitz. So perhaps worth taking a look at some of that form if you're punting in the 4 balls and that sort of stuff. Right, let's get into some selections then. Marios, we'll kick off with you. Headline selection, who's going to win this thing?
I think it's going to be so close, but I'm erring towards Europe purely because more of the guys are in form. I think it's going to be really tight, and I think it's going to be the first Ryder Cup in a long time that it will be tight. I actually think the draw's in play. I know we had a draw yesterday at the Solheim Cup. I think the draw's in play here. It's going to be that tight. But yeah, I'm going to edge Europe by the odd point.
Okay. And Bryan, would you back that up?
Yeah, similar. I think it's going to be very close and just with a little bit more value than on Europe. And I tend to go towards the correct score in that. So it's a process called Dutching. When you're betting, it's basically just breaking your stakes up. So if one of your selections, you make multiple selections, and if one of them win, you would return the same kind of on your whole outlay, and it works out as around. Actually, looking at the SBK prices this morning, if you were to back Europe in the tightest three score lines, so 14.5, 13.5, 15, 13, and 15.5, 12.5, and you split your stakes up proportionally, you will get a return on 7-2 on your total outlay doing that. Now, if you fancy America, you can do the very same thing, and you get odds just slightly short. You might just get under 4.0, but I like the 7-2-ish on doing that on Europe. I think it will be tight, and I think if they're to win, yeah, something like 15-13 or something is a great little show, great way to go, and it's just getting much more value than taking the 2.24 or whatever is for the straight win, you know. So that's the way I would attack it, yeah, the correct score angle.
Okay, nice. Marius, have you got a correct score for us?
Correct score, I will go 14.5, 13.5 to the Europeans.
Yeah, very tight. I should point out, USA won the last Ryder Cup, obviously 19-9 at Whistling Straits, but it was back in 21. And Europe have won the last 6 in Europe. USA have only won once away from home soil since 1981. That was at the Belfry in 93, rolling back the years. So, the stats are in the Europeans' favour in that sense. But, yeah, it does look like a very sort of close run thing. Let's talk about top point scorers for each team, guys. Bryan, you got someone from the US and someone for Europe that we can come down on here?
Well, obviously, I won't go for the main guys. Like we've already opposed or said some reasons why we could oppose Scheffler and all that. But the two behind, Cantlay and Scheffler, they're a very good team together. They'll probably be playing most matches together, and they're fearsome in singles. So they would be the two to beat, I think. But I'm actually going to go down much further down the market. And you get Max Homa near double figures as top US 8-point scorer. I just think he's one of the most informed guys. He is completely suited to match play. He can play any format, no problem. His all-round game is brilliant. He's straight off the tee to green game is great, around the green, everything. And his personality means he can actually match up with any kind of style of player. So I actually think he's going to play 4, if not 5 of the games. And I heard a rumour there that he was grouped in a foursome with Colin Morikawa and 2 others. But I was thinking if he comes in, if he's going to be playing with Morikawa, that would be an absolutely brilliant team. So, yeah, I think Max is a real kind of outsider to watch in that market. And if you wanted to watch it, take him in the top rookie market, is a great bet as well, or top overall rookie or something like that.
Yeah, he's 3-1 in that top rookie market. I'm with you on both accounts, Bryan. I think it's noticeable that Max has been doing quite a lot of press activity with Colin Morikawa in the last couple of weeks. So that looks like a pairing to look out for. And I agree, at a double figure price, I think he's tremendous. Anyone from Europe we need to look out for, Marios?
From Europe, I'm going to go for one of the rookies. If he can get going on the first day, and Donald picks him for the first day, I think Straka, who's a bird machine. Perhaps not the foursomes, but if he gets to go on the 4 balls, he could really get going. I fancy him to have a really good debut, and an obvious one for the Europeans would be Hovland. I think the track will suit Hovland. I think he's in great form. He's arguably probably the best player out of the 24 there at the moment, in terms of current form in the last couple of months that he's had. But he'll be a shorter price. But Straka, if Donald gives him a go on the first day at some point, and I'm looking at the 4 balls, I think he could play day 2 if he's in form and he's a bit of a bird machine. So he could be some real value, or if not, take him in the top rookie market. Yeah,
10-1 top rookie market, Sepp Straka. That does look like a bit of value. And you mentioned Victor Hovland there, Marios. He's currently 5-1 to be top European point scorer. That looks like a decent price to me as well. I think there's plenty of reason to oppose McIlroy and Rahm in that market. So, yeah. Bryan, anyone from Europe for you, or are you just content rowing in with Max Homa?
No, I completely agree with Marius there. Hovland is one of my best bets of the tournament, actually, if you wanted to back him in the overall point scorer market as well. Again, he didn't have a great record. None of them did at Whistling Straits for the European team, really, but so he'd be eager to get back on that one. And I think again he played five matches in Whistling Straits, and I think he'll do that again for similar reasons. With Homa, he's probably the best guy from tee to green. He's in the best form at the moment, decent price. He's about just touching double figures in the overall point scorer markets. But I have a couple of stats out of there. He was in all the main ball striking stats, like strokes gained, off the tee approach, all that's a total driving. He was top 10 in all of them, and I actually just ran him in the numbers I have in my model here for the course fit, and he's 9.62 out of 10, and he only loses for his around the green play, which is not so much needed here, just a little bit maybe, you know what I mean. So yeah, I just think Hovland is, again, he can play with anybody as well, all the formats, and I think he could be the main man for Europe.
Yeah, I completely agree. The course should set up really, really nicely for him as well. Any other markets taking your fancy, guys? I'm sure you're really keen to get involved in top lefty Brian Harman versus Bob Mack. Any major fancy there, guys?
You'd have to go with Harman there, wouldn't you? I think he's going to be playing with Brooks a few times as well. I heard something along the rumours of that. So yeah, what combination
of characters that'll be.
Yeah, well, exactly. The two of them are feisty. It'd be perfect for each other, maybe. Yeah. So I don't know.
Mega corp and mega ego there. Yeah.
I don't know. Is there a price? Have you got a price there on those?
They're both 1.8 in that market.
Yeah, I'd go for Harman then. Yeah, definitely.
Friend of the podcast. Mario, Harman for you as well.
No, Harman's your guy. He's not our guy, right? So he's your guy. So how do you think he'll do? How do you think he'll do, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's made for him as well. I quite like the fact that, you know, distance isn't a premium on this course either. I think it'll actually suit him. So yeah, I'd be taking Harman over Bob Mack any day of the week. The other thing with Bob is that I think pressure gets to him a lot. I am worried about him this week, and he's not playing great stuff of recent weeks. So yeah,
I'm kind of thinking McIntyre will be the one that doesn't play that many games, to be honest. Maybe 3 games max, even 2, probably 3.
Yeah. No, big time. Okay, guys, sorry. So I've got a bit waylaid there with this top lefty market. Anything else that tickles your fancy?
Well, I put one up there in the preview, and it was just about, I've seen it in a few books actually. It's like the hole in one no or the hole in one yes, and this is only something that would appeal to like the big hitters. But I did a sample over 2 years. I recorded a sample of attempts on par threes, and I took them at 230,000 attempts or something like that, just to work out the actual odds, because it's changed lately for the pros to score a hole in one. And basically, it worked out as 1,900 to 1. And there's only got to be 288 attempts on par threes in this Ryder Cup if all par threes were to be played. But one of the par threes is the 17th, so a lot of matches won't get that far. So that may be something that wasn't taken into the pricing. But so mathematically, you're looking at 1.15 for no hole in one, and 7.7 for a hole in one. That's a 100% book. And now currently on S markets it's 1.26, so there's a bit of value there, and on other books you could even get higher than that. I've seen 1.3 and higher even. So that's one for the big hitters. Not much points if you're only a small stake or whatever, but I think there's a bit of value in that if you're one that likes to make a big bet.
It's a really interesting angle. And I mean, listen, if you do make it to 17, that par 3 is just like a nightmare, isn't it? The danger on either side. You'd be stunned, wouldn't you?
Over 200 yards as well. I think there was actually a hole in one made this year at the Italian Open on the longest one, the 227 yard. I think it's the third hole or something like that. It was Tristan Lawrence, or seventh hole, I think. Tristan Lawrence made, and he won a car actually. But of course, there was around 1,800 attempts on that, you know, on par 3 shots in that tournament overall. Anyway, so the expectancy with 250 attempts, you know. I think we've only seen 6 hole-in-ones in Ryder Cups in history, so that'll tell you all you need to know really there.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, look, thank you for your thoughts. To wrap up, I think we all agree that that Europe will just edge it, but it could be a tight one. And Bryan made some really good points there around Dutching, around some of the correct score markets. But I think generally we're sort of thinking it's going to end up in this sort of 15-13 kind of region, right, which is going to be around the sort of 9-1, 11-1 area. And then you need to be focusing on Max Homer in terms of top USA point scorers. And remind me, guys, who did we fancy for Europe in the top point scorers? Victor Hovland?
Hovland for Europe. And maybe I think the best bet might be top overall rookie Max Homer at around 3-1. I think that's probably my bet of the tournament. Yeah,
you like him over Ludwig?
Yeah, I'm not sure Ludwig will play in the foursomes, you know what I mean? So I think Max Homer will play 4 at least, if not all 5 games. So
love it. That's about 3-1, I think, at present.
Yeah, 3-1 is shit.
Marios, anything to wrap up?
No, the only one that we haven't mentioned is JT, top US scorer. I do like JT. I think he'll get a lot of games. If he'll play with Spieth, I think, in most games on both days. And if he is in form and he rides across the other way, I think there's something like 10-1 or 12-1 around him. So I'll have a little interest in that.
In terms of things I didn't think I'd hear when we recorded this morning, JT, top USA point scorer, it has to be pretty much up there. But he played well last week, I suppose.
He did well, and he will play with Spieth. So, and if they get off to a good start, they'll be paired probably for the 4 games, and then he'll have the singles to deal with on Sunday.
But that's it, really. It's like a derby in football. Sometimes form goes out the window, and then if he's going to be playing with Jordan Spieth, the two of them just click, and they could play all 4 together again, and there you go. Get three wins there or something. He wins a single, and Bob's your uncle. Not Bob McIntyre.
Well, look, guys, thanks a lot for joining us again. It's been awesome doing these podcasts with you through the season. Really, really enjoyed it. I hope everyone else has as well. Just a quick reminder that new SBK customers can get £30 in free bets when you bet £10. T's and C's to apply. It's for new customers only. Please gamble responsibly. And if you want to look out for Bryan's written preview, that's available on the SBK betting zone later this week. So you can get more of Bryan's thoughts there. If you've enjoyed this podcast, always like and subscribe. And we'll see you all very soon.